Yeah.
But I see Yoshi.
There's a Yoshi.
Oh yeah.
There's multiple Yoshis. You can only see one though. I have a bit of a problem with Yoshi.
Shit, your hair is getting so long.
know.
That's Yoshi, right?
Yeah.
Yep, that's Yoshi,
My
the
back
popular Atari character.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to July's episode of Plus Club, the show where we play the games offered to us on PlayStation Plus, play them throughout the month, and at the end of the month, we talk about it. My name's Seth.
I'm Chevy.
And I'm Chris.
And returning...
Oh.
Paul, returning guest, friend of the channel, Paul is joining us to talk about Heavy Rain and Absolver, the games we played in July. We would talk about or mention what is going to be coming out next month, but
Bastards haven't announced it
they
yet.
have not announced the games yet. It's apparently delayed, so we'll let you know as soon as we know, but you'll probably know already. Quick reminder, we have a Discord link down below. Talk to us anytime, all the time. We also are on most podcast platforms, including Spotify and iTunes, if you'd like to listen to us instead of watching our beautiful faces. Said that yesterday, but they're so beautiful. Paul's included. And if you're listening to this and you want to watch us, come to YouTube and type in Tasty Loot Gaming, and you can check us out there. Also, Game of the Month has been changed. It was EDF. We did an episode on that yesterday. Make sure to go check that out. But our Game of the Month for August will be Vermintide 2. Definitely check it out. Highly recommended. We will be having fun playing it all month. And hopefully you get a chance to play it too and come back at the end of that month. We'll talk about it. But we're here to talk about... I looked at the wrong game. Heavy Rain and Absolver. So probably should start with Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
In case you didn't get a chance to play it, Heavy Rain is a narrative-driven story, choose-your-own-adventure type game made by Quantic Dream, which that's pretty much all they do. They made Fahrenheit. They made the recent...
Detroit Become Human.
Detroit, thank you. Game I love and forgot, apparently, the name of. And Beyond Two Souls, something we played recently. In this game, because I didn't really get to play it, you play as multiple characters, and I forgot his name, but his son gets kidnapped.
Ethan. No, Ethan.
Son.
Yeah.
Sean.
One of you guys give the synopsis since you guys got to play it.
Oh, fuck. I didn't get to play it. I played it back in 2010 when it was released.
All right, Chris, give us a short little gist of the story without spoiling anything.
You play as Ethan, whose son Sean gets kidnapped by the serial killer known as the Origami Killer,
Yep.
who kidnaps children and drowns them
Very fun stuff.
in rainwater.
Yeah. Yeah, so we played that. Hopefully you guys got a chance to play that. I figure me and Chevy should probably explain our situation and get that out of the way real quick. So the game came out. We downloaded it. We attempted to play it. I actually have a video that I put out when I played it earlier, like 2 weeks ago. Make sure to go check that out if you need proof. But the game... in the beginning was like flashing, and if you had like epilepsy, it'd be really bad for you. And then when the game started, it was on, and it's really interesting. The lag is different on our PS4s. I have a Pro, you have a PS4, the original standard one, and on mine it almost looked like stop animation, like some artistic rendition of Heavy Rain, skipping frames. He also was sleeping on a non-existent bed. He's just floating in the air. On Chevy's, it was like this weird sluggish, slow-moving lag, but still both had the same problem, and it was completely unplayable.
Yeah, no, I actually tried
to
play it, and it took me, God, I don't know, 5 minutes just to go out and look at the bird. So.
Yeah, it would have been very painful. I like finding weird glitches in games and stuff. I'm pretty lenient on that kind of thing. I'm like, oh, that's funny. It was so bad that I was like, I can't do this. I won't be able to. It's going to take me 5 minutes to get down the hallway in this game. And the beginning of the game has that kind of slow churning build. So I'm like, this is going to be like a 2-hour experience just getting to anything that's going to happen. So, and then I also uninstalled it and reinstalled it to see if it fixed it. Did not fix it. So me and Chevy did not get to go very far into the game. We did get to see what it looks like a little bit, and we've both played it in the past.
Yes.
So I mean that's about as far as we got for this month in our impressions, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to obviously talk too much about something that was literally unplayable. So,
Yeah, which will coincide with at least my grade.
Yeah.
It will be part of the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Paul, Chris, either of you want to go in with your impressions of the game?
Sure. I didn't play the game when it was re-released on PS4, on PS Plus, just because I played it on PS3 and I really liked it back then. And I know that if I play it again, I'm not going to like it as much.
Yeah.
I played all the Quantic Dream games except for Detroit. I haven't gotten to that yet. And
Paul, it's the best one they've ever made.
yeah, probably. I don't know. I liked Beyond Two Souls. Both the games have really slow parts or bad parts, I guess would be the best way to put it. Because the whole Quantic Dream thing of it being like an interactive story or whatever you want to call it, I like those games, but they're not really good at making good movies, but they think they are.
Yeah.
So it's like a schlocky B movie that wants to be all dramatic. But putting that aside, I did really like playing, from what I remember of Heavy Rain. I thought quick time events don't really bother me in games, and having that be the main focus of it, I can't imagine with your guys' lag and everything like that, trying to play through a quick time event game like that. That would be ridiculous. But I thought like the way that they did quick time events, especially that early on back then, I don't know if they changed them at all for PS4 with the motion controls and everything like that. But I thought it was really neat. Like some of the stuff you did really felt like intuitive and neat. Some of the motion controls, like when you're driving a car and stuff, didn't work so well. But just a few instances in between and things like that. But I thought the story was powerful at times, especially the self-mutilation scene.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that
how
gets
much you guys
everybody.
spoil on stuff like this. But
Yeah, I'll just put it out there. We're probably gonna. This game's been out for a while, so we'll probably freely just talk about parts of the game. So if you didn't get a chance to play this at any point, you really want to know what happens in it on your own time. Like I would just skip ahead to maybe the next game that we talk about. So
Or to the grading part of this one.
or the grading one, yeah.
But on that as well, the way this game was kind of marketed doesn't really work into how the game was. And I feel like lots of people had a problem with the game like that. They said, like, choose the story. In reality, there's not too much stuff you can choose other than, like, you accidentally either kill people or don't. Similar kind of to Until Dawn. That's how the story changes most of the time. Who dies, who lives. No matter what, the mystery is always the same. The killer is always the same. And for a mystery, there's not really, as I felt anyway, for you to tell that the killer was the killer before. Like the game actively lies to you about scenes. Like you play through a scene, and then when they go back and flash back to it, something else happened.
Yeah, it's a cheap way to keep to lock in that surprise.
Yeah,
because they don't allow you to even freely think about it in a way that you could figure that out. I completely agree with that.
Something happens and you do something you don't realize at the time, but you're covering up your own tracks.
Yeah.
Because one of the players you play as is the killer. But at the time you didn't know that you were doing that. So it's like, I felt like it was kind of cheap, but overall I really liked the game. I thought it was, at the time, it was like nothing else that I've played. It was really early for this kind of interactive fiction that there's a lot of those games now, and they've gotten a lot better. I feel like this inspired a lot of developers. But overall, I really liked it. I don't want to go back to it because it'll ruin it for me. I'm sure I'll pick it apart because I've kind of grown as a person and and I've been exposed to a lot better games at this point. But I think it's still cool that they re-released it on PS4 and younger people who haven't played it have a chance to play it if they like Beyond Two Souls and possibly Detroit. Fahrenheit I really like too. or whatever the name of it was when I played it, Indigo Prophecy.
Indigo Prophecy, yeah. In fact, on Android, I was looking through the store, and they now have it called Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy. So they just kind of picked both. So I was like, okay, I can deal with that. To piggyback off what you're saying, because like we explained the lag thing, but now you're kind of getting the gears turning for me. It is really interesting to look at this game in retrospect because at the time it was revolutionary in my opinion, even then I was like, man, these accents are really like weird and don't work, but I can look past it because the technology's there, the acting is decent.
The facial rigging in that game at the time was like amazing. Like
it was
best you could see for
technologically it was like revolutionary.
That.
Yeah. But in retrospect now, I think it is probably my least favorite Quantic Dream game, which is an interesting one. Well, most people love this game because of the memes at this point.
No, I know.
I think Fahrenheit was a much more at the time of its release, a much more ambitious game because nobody was doing games like that really at that time. This game definitely pushed it further, showed what at that time a modern age version of that game could be. And I think the subject matter is really interesting because you only see a whole lot of games about like a serial killer type dude or some dude who like kidnaps people. It was a very like mature themed story. But now we got Beyond Two Souls, which I think is a much better game. And then for me, Detroit, which I think is their best game because it's shown how far they've come. All the things that I've complained about their prior games, this game is completely devoid of them. For me, like they've taken care of everything. They got like really good actors, great script, really impactful scenes that are like larger than life, like things you would not expect from their type of game. So the whole like saga of them making games has been a really cool thing to watch because it's just kind of built up to what they have now. But I think Heavy Rain definitely is if anything a really pivotal part in that journey, but is the biggest learning experience for them. I think it was them going from a smaller company experimenting to trying to make something bigger and touching more people, and pretty much the bridge to get to Beyond Two Souls.
And if I remember correctly, that's their first like actual experience with working with Sony too, which was a learning experience for them as well. Because one of the things I was going to bring up was there was quite a few plot holes in the game. And I wish they would have been fixed for the PS4 version, but I don't believe that they went back and redid any content or anything like that.
Oh, I don't think so, yeah.
Interviews that have surfaced since then have said pretty much like, yeah, we wanted to, like, there's a big thing where the son who's missing's dad, Ethan, like wakes up after blacking out with origami figures in his hand, and that is just never explained why that happens or anything like that after it happens multiple times in the game.
Oh yeah.
And in interviews he explained that like there was going to be this whole thing where he had some kind of supernatural connection with the killer, and they were like speaking through his dreams, but then Sony just said no and cut that because they didn't think it made sense in the game.
That's interesting that they would have developed that already, and then somebody altered the story after it already got developed.
Well, I think it was like more of a storyboard thing.
Yeah.
And they kept part of it in strangely instead of just cutting it completely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they actually had like the footage or anything like that. But
okay.
I guess I won't know.
I was just going to say the gaming industry's changed quite a bit since then too, though, because at the time, I mean, that was during PS3, and Sony was probably their biggest struggle at that point
that was the worst time for Sony when it
as
comes
for
to
right
gaming,
now, they seem to just kind of go, they have their developers, and their developers seem to be just making, all these games or whatever, and I'm pretty sure Sony's just at this point like, they oversee it. Obviously, it's their investment, but
more laissez-faire. Let it be.
Yeah,
it seems like they're giving the developers the time they need instead of being like, no, we need this game out now. You can just remove that.
Yeah, it never seems like Sony games are like hard pressed to have to be released right now.
When I think a big part of that too is, and we covered it a couple times in the last week actually, that there's so many games that a lot of people are either like just taking longer to make them now, or they're releasing. They develop less of it, but make sure it is working, and then they start adding content to it for free later as well to kind of like allows them to keep developing, but the game also gets to come out. So
yeah,
a good example of that is Guerrilla Games Horizon. There's a YouTube channel, No Clip, that does documentaries on video games and stuff like that. And there's a really neat Horizon documentary from them, and they talk about that, how Sony, like, they were their Killzone developer, and obviously Sony wanted them to keep cranking out stuff, but they were like, we have this vision, and they gave them so much time and stuff, and Horizon turned out to be great. So
yeah, it's better than Killzone was. I mean, and it's complete departure from it. So I mean, we can only give it praise anytime we talk about it. So that's really cool. That's even part of it.
All the praise. I praise it so much.
But yeah, just kind of close off my impressions of what I remember, not thinking about the lag aspect, is I do think there's weaknesses to this game. I think it's their weakest game. I think it's their my least favorite of them, but I do think it's important. I think it's a very important stepping stone for the company itself, and there are some very cool things about it, some impactful moments, some memes that will live on forever that I'll always enjoy, and Nam and Jaden, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. Chris, this is your first time playing this, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
and you beat it.
Yes.
All right.
So this game, first off, I'm going to say feels very much like it's a port. There's a lot of graphical bugs that I ran into in the game where things weren't loaded all the way through until I walked real close to it, and the controls of the game are very like reminiscent of early Resident Evil games.
I hate the controls. I don't even remember them being that bad.
R2 to walk forward or whatever.
Yeah.
I hate the fact you have to hold R2 to walk. I get it that like they want you to like be able to stop and look around while you're going through everything, but I hated having to hold R2. Eventually I got used to it, but initially I was just like, this is horrid. And the story initially was slow. For me, I had kind of had to slog my way through the initial events until things started kind of churning through, and then I found myself getting really hooked into the story, despite all the plot holes that I'm now thinking about. About how, like, the origami and how the fuck did he get it?
Probably should let you talk about it before he did, but now you're thinking.
But despite all that, I find myself really compelled to play this game. And I really wanted to get to the end. I wanted to know what's happening, and I wanted to know who the killer was, and I had all these theories and shit like that. But it just became more about the story than the gameplay for me. The QuickTime events, although some of them I felt very frustrated with because some of the directions you have to press on the sticks are like half over and half across the top and things like that, and I just couldn't get them half the time, so they're very disconnected from those. But overall, I think my experience is that I really, really, really enjoyed the game or the story. Yeah.
That's really interesting too, because you also Bounty Souls really resonated with you as well.
I really like narrative-driven games, though. I think it's kind of like a weakness for me. That's why I like a lot of like RPGs. Is there's a lot of story behind it.
Have you played The Walking Dead?
Yes.
Okay.
And
good.
It ramps up my anxiety real bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So good. Yeah. So you liked it, but it had problems, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like it's a port. It's not. There's nothing done with it. There's no re-rendering of anything. You know.
Yeah.
It's definitely a PlayStation 3 game put on PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I noticed in the laggy experience that I had that the game looked a little shinier and a little smoother, but artificially smooth. Like they just like turned on a filter or something to make the game look a little like fresher. But like it almost depreciated the graphics to me. It looked artificial or plastic. So I'm sitting there lagging all over the place in this like weird plastic game, and it was just a huge fucking. I was just like, I don't even know if I want to reinstall this to see if it's worth it. And I did anyway, but. So yeah, it does feel a bit minimal in the sense that like, and I'm glad like any game that existed before, they want to re-release it, so people now can play it on PS4. That's cool, but this feels like such a lazy port.
Yeah.
Considering that, for, the people on the channel at least, 2 out of 3 of us couldn't play the game. That's a pretty big problem.
Yeah.
It's an 8-year-old game too, and I understand that like the cell processor in the PS3 was difficult to work with, but come on, like how can you release an 8-year-old game that doesn't work on current?
One Beyond Two Souls works just fine.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so they have experience doing that because that came out on PS3. And regular fan of the channel and friend of the channel, Almixai, was talking about it, and he was saying essentially like the engine can't handle it. It's an old engine, and like it might be a VSync problem and stuff like that. And I get that argument completely, but you have to make that decision to release that game. If it doesn't work on a new console, you still made that decision to be like,
It's almost
okay,
as if they did the work for Beyond Two Souls, and then they were like, well, this should work for Heavy Rain too, right? All right, just copy and paste that code and insert Heavy Rain instead.
I mean, that's
shit.
that's a good theory because that makes complete sense. Like, oh, this worked great.
Well, especially because when they were first released on PS4, they were sold as a bundle. So they weren't separated.
Yeah.
And I believe that actually did cause problems for people trying to download Beyond Two Souls when that came out, because it didn't recognize it as a singular title initially. It recognized it as the bundle. So anyone who owned the bundle, it'd be like, no, essentially. So
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was weird. So, but they fixed that obviously because that was on Sony's end. But yeah, this, whatever they did or didn't do, it wasn't doing them any favors, to say the least. So
Yeah. Do you want to give some impressions of what you remember the game?
I probably have one of the worst memories on the planet, so this is gonna be really difficult.
Can't remember if we just took a right or a left.
Yeah,
We'll walk around a corner and he's like, I don't know where we're at. And I'm like, follow me.
So I remember enjoying the game originally when it came out. I thought it was this really neat and new experience from when obviously when it came out, and I liked that it had multiple playable characters and that their story eventually becomes this one story, and you just didn't really see that a lot at the time or whatever. And like Paul said, there's a lot of examples of that now that people do. I mean, that's Telltale's business model. So I remember it looking really good at the time, and even though, like you said, it looks kind of plasticky, I do think that the character models held up really well, though. I think they look pretty good still.
Agree, disagree.
The textures not so much, but they still...
Okay, yeah, I can give you that.
They still look...
I would say they look like fucking
pretty well
Ken
done,
dolls to me.
So,
flying Ken dolls that lagged across the balcony.
house didn't look very good.
Looked like
it was very
garbage.
plain, but that also could have to do with the... obviously system specs of the PS3 versus what we have now.
Yeah.
And other than that, I remember, even go up to the ending, the whole sequence, and I cannot remember where it was, but I was talking to Paul about this a little bit earlier until I realized we were talking about something we were going to talk about later. Where you're playing as, help me out here, Paul. The guy chasing the Zodiac killer, or vice versa or whatever, and you end up on that like pathway where like it has a drop off at the end or whatever.
The FBI detective.
Yeah,
That's Nam and Jaden.
Norman, yeah.
Namen.
but anyways, fond memories obviously.
Origami.
Huh?
Origami.
Yes.
Origami.
The
Oh my
origami
God.
killer. I'm Nam and Jaden.
But obviously I wasn't able to revisit it, so
Yeah. Which is I think the first time this has happened.
yeah.
I know in prior Plus clubs, I think Chris has had an issue with the game before.
I think so.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember one of us, it was either you or Chevy, were unable to play the game or barely able to play the game. But it wasn't as big of a problem because this is like 2 out of 3 having the exact same problem. And it wasn't like a small problem. It was like the game can't be played. So it was kind of a... we do at the end of the year, every year, kind of the best month of PlayStation Plus. And this will definitely go into the way I view ranking the months, having a month that was the only time really I've had a broken game.
Well, yeah, because for me and you, one game has to carry the month now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So should we do recommendations then?
Yeah, unless anybody else has anything else they want to say about Heavy Rain.
Do you guys know where it takes place? Storyline wise?
No.
Seattle.
See, I thought Seattle too the whole fucking time.
Well, actually, I thought it was East Coast, but I was just guessing Seattle because I feel like it's a trick question.
It's Philadelphia,
Okay.
supposedly.
Philly
Never been there.
with origami.
Origami.
One question for the people who played it originally. Does anybody else remember it came with an origami crane that you folded up while the game was installing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
still
working
got
for
that thing.
GameStop at the time, so
Yeah.
God, it was that long ago?
yeah.
So you guys would steal it out of the cases?
No. No.
People got the game and was like, where's my origami at?
Yeah, that's probably the most memorable part about the game for me. Still got that thing.
It's funny because
so
I completely
weird.
forgot about it, and then you start, as soon as you start mentioning, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
A crane. That's so basic of origami.
But
Yeah, but it's also,
recognizable.
yeah, I will say it's like the most recognizable like thing for
But there
origami
aren't any
too.
origami cranes in the game.
Huh?
There's no origami cranes in the game. There's
Oh,
other
but they're the
animals.
origami killer.
I didn't get to play it, Chris, so I
Just
don't
one
know.
on the cover art.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just there though, not in the game. It's not in the game at all.
Chris
There's
is the
other
only one who
animals.
beat it recently.
You are arguing a point that just does not matter.
No, I feel it. I'll back Chris on this. Fuck it. I've backed
False
crazier
advertising.
causes.
Exactly. I thought there was going to be cranes, and I was a
Where's my
master of paper
cranes?
crane folding.
I didn't get one in the
Yeah,
case.
yeah,
Chevy
yeah.
took it 8 years ago. And goddamn, there's none in the game. It's craneless. Heavy crane.
It was like the inspiration for Nintendo Labo.
Yeah, yeah. 8 years in the making. And I was like, remember that crane thing they did back in the day?
We could sell it to children.
I think there's money to be made there. It's the most memorable thing about a game. We're gonna make memories with cardboard. Yeah. Anything else anybody wants to say about the game? Impressions? Anything? You guys want to make fun of it? You guys want to be like, fuck David Cage? I like David Cage. I like his games.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah, because he's a sexist or something. I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, he's just a bad storyteller.
In-
Games are good,
in-
but his stories are generally bad.
Yeah. I agree
They're-
with
They're
you.
bloated, I guess would be the way I would put it.
I agree with you up until Detroit, even though there is some weak areas. I'd love for you to play that and talk with you about
Yeah,
it, though, because
I
there's a lot to it. And obviously, you got a lot out of Heavy Rain, so you can talk about it as much as you did, years after you played it. So,
My brain doesn't do that.
yeah.
No.
Mine has to be refreshed because my brain's going like 1,000 miles a second. So, like, someone's got to stop me and go, okay, we're talking about this. I'm like, okay, focus.
I can replay Final Fantasy VII, and there'll be parts of it where I'm like, I don't remember this ever happening. And I've beaten that game like 5 times at least.
Well, that's the interesting thing. I don't think there's tons of games I wouldn't be able to do stuff like that for, but I feel like that was a pretty important game at the time. Like back then, it's not like I played anywhere near as many games as I play now. So I probably played that game and got
make as
like
many.
at least half of the death endings.
Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
death endings because they kill different people pretty much.
I think there's also something really memorable about a game that is more oriented towards being movie-like, because I can watch a 2-hour movie and remember it basically like really well, because it's formatted in a way that is giving you information in a way to open up the storyline, give you new elements as you go, and at the end it has a finite ending, a finale, and you get the whole package. In a lot of games, you're shooting people and jumping around and stuff, and it's all about the experiences. With this, you have a couple decisions to make, but it still is from beginning to end a story that was told. So it's kind of I think, memorable in that way. And also, you've said it a couple times, but like when this did come out, it was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
The memes and stuff have softened that, but like when it did come out, it was like a revolutionary game. LA Noire wasn't out, so I mean, like that was the next game that was like, this is the next step in storytelling. But yeah, before that, Heavy Rain was like by itself doing that.
With the exception of like PC games, adventure
Like
games.
Monkey Island and stuff.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But those games weren't like, like they were still stories.
Well, that's
They
what
were
I'm
like
saying.
humor oriented, but like they didn't have like the full mocapping and like this.
Maybe it came out after Heavy Rain for sure, but Wrath of Azura, if anybody remembers that.
Yeah.
That was a heavy, quick time game. It was way more action orientated, but still like it was mostly like quick time cutscenes throughout the.
I remember that was one of those games though where the people don't talk about it anymore, but there's a couple of years there where people really started hating quick time events. Everybody's always making fun of them, and nowadays if it's in a game, it's kind of like a standard thing, like L2 is going to aim and R2 is going to shoot. That's just standard nowadays. It's become like, okay, there's a quick time event, you just do it. But like for a while there, they were doing it so much.
God of War.
That people were starting to get sick of it. So, and that was one of the games that I always heard people got kind of annoyed with the quick time events. I never played that game. I know what game you're talking about. I remember seeing it.
Yeah, I didn't play it either.
Yeah. Is it
Pretty
good?
cool. I don't know if it was a good game. It was definitely entertaining. You like punch somebody really hard, and then like, if I remember correctly, you kind of like stab them with a sword, and it breaks the planet. It's very anime-like.
Yeah, I need to play that. That's ridiculous.
They jump to the moon. Like he literally jumps from Earth to the moon.
Yeah.
And they fight on the moon, and they break the moon by fighting on it.
Yeah.
God, was it made by Suda 51 or what? That's ridiculous sounding.
I think it's got a connection. Isn't it made by Capcom, or there's a connection to Capcom? Because like there's a Ryu reference in it, or one of the either rather the Suna references Street Fighter, or there's Street Fighter has a reference to it. Like there's some sort of crossover between the two.
Huh. If it's Capcom, it makes sense. Capcom's all about pollination of their games, so all of them have like costumes and stuff like that from the other games.
If I remember correctly, there was
cool.
like DLC ending to that game too, which was a big controversy at the time.
Was there really?
It was something like that. I'm really grasping at fucking straws
That's fucking
now.
ridiculous.
Capcom, Cyber Connect 2 was the developer. Which
I'm sure they're still around.
Let's find out.
So while Chevy looks that up, let's jump into recommendations. I typically kind of jump into that first. So if anybody wants to let people know who might not played it, who would you recommend that to?
I'm going to recommend this to anyone who likes Quantic Dream games and is willing to look up possible fixes if your copy is broken.
I feel like looking into fixing games
is
perfect for you.
If you want to play another Quantic Dreams game, you have a PS4 and the game's not working for you, obviously, the moment it was broken, I probably could have looked up a fix, but at that point I was like, it's been 30 days of this game being free to a bunch of people, and it's also been on the store for a while. Why haven't you patched this at least or something? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But anyways, if you're into those type of games, if you're into story games at all, if you're into quick time event type stuff, it's probably a good game for you to try. I don't think it's for everybody though, and I think that with most story driven games you really have to enjoy that style of game. So,
and just like movies too, you gotta not everybody's gonna be into like a thriller versus like a superhero movie, so like it is niche in a sense. If you're going into it as like somebody who's particularly into movies, which is somebody that I would recommend the game to if you're into cinema and stuff like that. Paul makes a good point that like it's not like a great story, but it still takes after movies. So if you can appreciate that, definitely check it out. But again, it is a genre movie game, so you got to be into the subject matter, which is for me, I think, bold and interesting. But it's definitely not something everybody's gonna be super into.
Right.
I mean, even Chris was saying the beginning was kind of like felt like a slog.
Yep.
So, but I pretty much agree with everything you said, aside from, like I said, if you're into movies, check it out. And yeah, story-oriented games. Anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, I think, like, just to clarify, the story being bad I still like parts of it. It still overall has a good story. It just feels very bloated, like they want to get a lot of, with the different points of view and everything like that. I feel like it goes a little bit too far off in some directions it doesn't need to, and that just kind of brings down the story overall. And the way it's framed as a mystery, but it's not really a mystery. It's more of like an emotional thought piece on what creates a serial killer and stuff like that.
And the lengths dad will go to get his kid back.
There's a lot of family themes, like the abusive father of the killer and stuff like that, and a lot of other stuff. But there are emotional parts of the game that I found striking at the time, and I think that there's parts of the story that are really good. It's just overall, like, that's the thing with these kind of interactive fiction. Like, I wouldn't want to watch this movie, but because you take a role in it, it's more entertaining that way. And it's easier to forgive the slow parts of the story. Like the way that the story starts off slow, it makes sense because it's him having everyday life. He starts off in like, you make coffee, and you play with your kid in the backyard. It's sort of a tutorial, but at the same time, it's like, this is daily life, and then everything goes to shit. And that's something that games can do, or more specifically, interactive fiction games, or whatever you want to call them, movie-like games, can do. But I would recommend it to people that maybe people that are into some of the more narrative-driven games like walking simulators, Gone Home, and stuff like that. Definitely people that like Until Dawn, because that took so much from the Quantic Dream idea.
Oh, definitely.
Did a great job with it. Anybody that likes very intense story-driven games, I would definitely recommend this too, just to check out like where that a lot of those ideas came from and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind horrible tank controls and quick time events.
Yeah. You can get past the tank controls. It had a place back in the day, and I still find that nostalgia fun. But when I played that game, I was like, oh no, it's too late for that. You can't be doing this.
I love the Resident Evil games.
Oh, yeah.
And I played through the remake of Resident Evil 1, but I will not play through the Resident Evil 2 again until there's that actual remake with updated, because I don't want to. Resident Evil 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I don't want to spoil it and go back to, like, I can't do tank controls anymore. I learned that with Resident Evil Remastered.
There's certain versions that I think you can use the analogs.
Yeah.
To me, it's really nice.
They changed it a little bit with that, but
it feels weird though, because the camera angle, it's almost like you're just spinning a circle, you're just in a point, and it feels weird. So, but yeah. Chris, anything you want to add?
I think you guys covered almost everything I could think of. I will put a side note that when it comes to like movies and video games, I tend to be very, I wouldn't say squeamish, but very hard on games that would show or discuss the death of children. It's usually an instant no-go for me. But this one, it's in such a way that it's classier, I think, than what you would see for like a lot of video games would put.
Fun fact. At the beginning, when Jason, the first son, dies, when you get hit by a car, and it doesn't actually show like you get hit by the car, it shows Ethan jumping in front of the car. It looks like he gets hit by the car more than the kid. A lot of people were like confused by that, like, how did the son die if he jumped in front of the car and everything like that? Turns out originally they had that where it actually showed him getting struck by the car first, but Sony said like, no, we don't want like a kid getting hit by a car in our game, so that's why they changed the way it looks.
So Sony's choice.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's good.
So they could have had you right off the gate not playing the game.
Very quickly.
Nope, turn it off.
Even though the subject matter is focused around the death of children, like I said, it's just done in a way it's very tasteful. So if that's something you're worried about in this kind of game, don't be. It's done to the point where it's emotional, but it's not squeamishly gross, I would say.
You heard it
I've
here.
had problems with movies like that.
It's a thriller, but it's not scary either.
Right, it's more of a psychological mystery murder thriller.
That's the channel's new name.
Tasteful
children killing. It's gonna get us in trouble real quick. Just talking about that, quick shout out to the movie. I think it's called Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, yeah.
Really fucking good.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman
acts his ass off.
Amazing in that movie. Yeah, he's always amazing. Definitely check that out though. It has to do with missing kids and a dad who does insane shit to get their kid back. It's really fucking good. Denis Villeneuve though is a master director really early on in his career. Anyway, let's get into grades. So, you can grade it however you want. Just pretty much saying this to Paul because we've done this a million times. But typically, I like to grade based off of my month of experience, mixed a little bit in with if I've played the game in the past or whatever. This episode, though, I'm going to be giving my actual channel grade that'll be official based off of the experience. But I want to give a secondary grade as a personal grade to the game itself because they're going to be different. So I'll let Paul go first.
You You guys use like letter grades, right?
Yeah,
Like school.
A, B, C, C minus, D minus, D plus.
Normally I go on like
Triple
a
S.
5-point scale, so I would have been giving this for the time, obviously, when it came out, I would have been giving this a 4.25. But what is that, like a
That'd be like a B plus.
That's like a
B
B plus. Yeah.
plus, A minus territory?
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
So you're giving it a B plus then?
Let's go with a B plus. Yes.
Okay.
It's a weak B plus, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You want to add anything to that grade or?
I mean, I think I expressed most of the stuff already. I mean, like you said earlier, that technologically it was, now it's awful because it doesn't work. But for the time, this is totally the PS3 version. It was such an achievement, and the orchestral score was fucking really good and fit the game perfectly. I really liked the game, and one of the strongest things I could say about it is I didn't want to go back to it and ruin it for myself. Like, I had a very good time with it, and it's in the past, and I'm just going to keep it there. So
yeah, fair. I'll go next, just because that kind of solidified my grade. So I'll go with my official grade for this experience. I'm gonna give it a fucking F, just because I couldn't play it. So yeah, that's my official grade for the channel. I would have loved to play it, re-experience the game. Although like Paul was saying, I it might have ruined the game experience for me. So maybe this is a good thing. Maybe it's good that it stopped me from going back and going, you know what, this game's not that great. But yeah, this is the lowest grade I think I've given. Did I give Drawn to Death an F? Okay, yeah. Fuck Drawn to Death. That game gets an F minus. But this game, I was gonna give it a D minus, but I can't do that because I couldn't play the game, and that's a really big problem. So that's it. I mean, it's an unplayable game. It's broken. I tried twice, didn't work. I could have probably went further into it, but I don't want to put that much work into something that for years now has not been an issue. So, that might seem unfair, but that's just where I'm coming from. As my personal grade for the game itself in my past experience for it, I'm going to give it a B. Close to what Paul was saying. It was revolutionary. I did enjoy it a lot. I do remember stuff from back then, though, that I did think was kind of cheesy even then, and now I definitely would probably find very cheesy, especially playing their newest games, which are obviously wouldn't exist without it. So it's very important. A B is a good grade, I think. But it's got its faults, like any game, but some of them are like, they break the immersion for me in that game.
Yeah.
So B for, the great effort and pretty much, what they did for gaming. I mean, they took a step forward in gaming that they did alone, which is awesome. So, personal grade for it, B. F though for the month.
I'm gonna follow up with that. It was like you said, broken, unplayable, so it has to be an F.
Okay. I'll say I'm gonna give it a C plus. It was the most enjoyable broken game I've ever played.
You can't even give a passing grade to something that you can't play. So nothing against the game itself as far as like the content of the game, but after having, like I mentioned earlier, a game on a platform for a while, even before they offered it as a quote free title, and it's still just having that kind of issue, that's kind of unexcusable for me. So
this far into the game being out on PS4, it's not new.
Yeah, and I can't give it a personal grade because I don't have a strong enough memory to do that. So
just lie, just be like, it was amazing, A plus,
triple S,
the coveted triple S, mythical, legendary.
Chris.
So I'm gonna give this game, even though I thoroughly enjoyed playing it, a B, a solid B, because the controls are kind of, they're tank controls, so they're hard to get used to. The background for a lot of the city is very not present. It feels like you're just kind of driving through cardboard cutouts. There's no uniqueness about it unless you're actually going into one of the buildings. Then it has its own like setup, but everything else just feels kind of bland. There are plot holes and things that I'm just like, what is happening? Like during the motel scene when you're trying to escape from the police raid, it felt very much like a Benny Hill scene. You're just running back and forth between the rooftops, and the cops are chasing them single file. I'm just like, they would surround the goddamn building. How is this happening?
Even the shower scene where the chick has all the people like after her and she's like running around like half naked. That when Paul was talking about the game feeling bloated, that it was the first thing that came to mind. Because that whole scene was like suspense just to be suspense.
I've seen this is the most I've seen video game boobs too in a long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What's that?
Yeah, she's the funniest thing is she's such an unimportant character in that game.
Yeah.
She's just like, oh, and I was there too.
Yeah,
And,
she almost exists
she's
to
like-
sell the game.
She's front and center on the cover of the game in front of everyone else. Like she's like the main protagonist or something like that. Like
That was the thing that was very confusing when I first played it too, because I thought she was going to be way more important. But before all their games, they always have some kind of tech demo. Like Kara came out a long time ago, and now there's actually a character named Kara in Detroit.
Yeah, she's in it. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's a similar like feel, but it's completely different storytelling wise. Before Heavy Rain came out, they had that video they showed like at the E3 before they even announced Heavy Rain of that tech demo of that girl sitting in that room talking. They're showing off that they had like the tears going down her face, stuff like that, which had never been seen before.
Right.
And so it was that actor. They took her and put her in the game, and yeah, they didn't. I mean,
Well,
she didn't really.
we paid you. We should probably at least use you.
Well, they might have good rapport with her. Maybe they liked her, so they're like, "We're gonna put you in the next game."
Yeah.
But they didn't write her a good role. So
I don't think she was bad in the game. Like
No.
she acted probably one of the best ones in the
she was
game.
better than Norman Jaden.
Oh God, yeah. But
Norman
the
Jaden.
role was kind of a nothing.
Yeah, it was the writing's fault for sure. Which David Cage writes all the games, so it's his fault. Asshole. Chris, did you have more to say on that?
No, I think
Benny Hill?
that's
I'm surprised that you rated it so high, having only played it. And that makes me feel kind of better about the game. I would expect a lower grade for somebody who never played it back then.
I'm a sucker for for storyline though.
Yeah, I could see that with Chris. Knowing Chris, like, if the storyline was good enough, I think he could look past all of the shortcomings of it.
As long as it's not like super glaring things like unplayable content.
Yeah, you weren't sleeping on
I don't remember the
anti-gravity beds.
exact grade, but didn't you gave Beyond Two Souls? It was in the A range, wasn't it?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he rated it way higher.
I mean, I rated that one pretty high too, but
Yeah, I was probably the least impressed
you
by
were,
it.
yeah.
Just because I really hated the Navajo part. It just dragged on forever. Felt like
That
it
was,
was like
like,
a whole. Well, yeah, but you're invested for different reasons. You thought that guy was hot. I'm just sitting here going like, dude, there's way cooler shit we could be doing right now. I don't want to hang out in the goddamn desert with this dude and his crackhead brother eating fucking fried spinach in a bowl.
Was it a bowl?
I don't know,
I
dude.
don't remember. I thought it was a can for some reason.
Dude, it might have been a can. It looked like
It
a
was
clay
probably a bowl.
pot.
Fucking there you go. It's pottery.
But the whole time, like, what am I doing here? They're like, oh, the horse likes you. And it's like, you got in that horse's head with a spirit.
They don't know
That
that.
horse hates you.
They
It's
don't know that.
horrified. She needs to clear that up. Be like, no. I
Here,
possess the
I'm an
horse.
awful person.
I'm an evil.
Let me clear that up
I'm
for
literally the devil. You've let me onto your land, and now I will own it. First, the horse. And he knows it. That's why he respects me, because he has to. All right, so we pretty much B's across the board aside from Chevy, because he didn't do the retrospective grade, and we gave it F's for the experience, which really sucks. I don't even want to give it that because it's not Drawn to Death. Drawn to Death fucking sucks.
No, they said that's a game that works. That just sucks.
Yeah, it's awful. That game is like a Ponzi scheme or something. Somebody made some money, quick money off that game, and just forgot
Wait,
about
you're
it.
telling me I can give guaranteed copies to people, and you'll just write me a check for that?
Yeah, just write me the check
Awesome.
now. I'll put a game out for you.
I wouldn't feel bad if I were you guys. I mean, you're rating the port, and the port was done very, like, 50% of us couldn't play it. Like,
Yeah.
I would give the port an F2, and I never even tried it.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Also, I don't feel bad. That shit's unplayable.
I do, just because I don't want to give any game that, like, even Drawn to Death, I didn't want. Well, actually,
Yes, you did.
I wanted to give that. I'd go lower and burn that game to the ground if I could. I don't often feel insulted by a game. Like someone's just using me. Like, oh, you're playing this, you asshole? I'm like, I thought I'd try it. What a fucking idiot. Oh, okay, cool, thanks. Why am I playing this? You die, it's like, oh, you suck. It's like, why would you do that? I get you're trying to be like crude and edgy, but that's ridiculous. Anyway, let us know in the comments, what did you think of Heavy Rain? Did you play this port? Did you have any luck playing it? Did you have any problems playing it? Let us know what did you think about it in general, and did you play it back in the day? What did you think about it then? Have you revisited it? Has it changed your perspective on the game? Let us know everything you're thinking about when it comes to Heavy Rain. We talked about that for like almost an hour, which is great because I was like, two of us didn't play the game. We're not going to have anything to talk about. The other game we played this month is Absolver, which is Devolver Digital, one of their games. It is a third-person, I would say, inspired by Dark Souls in a way.
It's martial arts Dark Souls.
Online action game, fighting game, where you explore a land, you fight NPCs, you fight other people, and you gain new moves and level by fighting other people and learning their moves during combat. I feel like I did that pretty well.
Yes.
Anything I'm
Devolver
missing?
Digital published, Slow Clap developed it, another French company, so this is French month.
It's French month. I should be really excited, but not so much. Yeah, so I'm glad you knew that because I was just like, Devolver, I like Devolver. They did something.
They paid for something.
Yeah, they paid for something. And yeah, this is a game that that I actually was really excited when it first came out. I was like, oh, I want to try that. And then I heard like it didn't have any kind of like co-op in any way. You just had to fight people and stuff. And I was like, I don't know about that. So I waited on it and came out and finally got a chance to play it. So that was pretty cool. This is one every once in a while with PlayStation Plus. I'm like, oh, this is a game that it's been on a back burner. Like I've been wanting to pick it up. Now I don't have to. So I always like when that happens. Chris, let's let you start with your impressions of the game.
Well, I started playing the game and I got through the initial level and then the first like open world area, and I immediately unplugged my internet because I did not want to fight against other people. Mostly because as I was running through, people wouldn't fully load in for me, and it could have been an internet thing on my end. I don't know how it could be because I got really good internet here now, but their weapons would just float around and chase me down and start smacking me, so I got really frustrated with it.
Future reference.
That would be annoying.
Every time you start the game, you go into options. There's literally a toggle for offline.
I didn't
mode.
find that.
I didn't find it either.
Right on the front.
Yeah, I played it like a couple days ago just to get some footage for the episode, and
I will show you.
And I was about to ask you, but I was like, I'm not gonna bother.
It's literally you go to options, and at the bottom it's like.
You know what I
offline.
did? I looked in the options, didn't find it, and I was like, and I shut the game off. That's how I avoided fighting against other people.
I can say it wasn't just your internet though, because I had the same exact issue multiple times. Both online people and NPCs invisible.
Oh,
This is cursed month.
Weird.
50% of the people had a problem.
This would be a game that is like up my alley. I really like the concept of martial arts, and Dark Souls is a newer. I played Dark Souls 3. This is the only one I ever played, and I really got into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really looking forward to playing this when I heard it was kind of like Dark Souls-esque. But I found myself, once I got into the game, just kind of blasé about everything. I didn't like the different fighting styles. I tried all of them just to get a grasp of, maybe the one didn't work for me. Because one of them was about dodging. One of them was about just taking the hits and just kind of regenerating your health. And the other one's about blocking. And I just didn't care for any of them. Dodging felt too difficult to anticipate where their moves are going to go. Parrying was even worse because you got to time it just right. And I'm not a kind of person who just sits there and takes hits. I hate that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I'm a big tanky guy.
I actually played the dodging guy. That's more my playstyle anyway. And I didn't have problems dodging people, but I did have issues sucking my stamina up constantly in a fight, trying not to get hit, and then going in to hit them, and I would get those hits in, but I was always dealing with that stamina. So whenever I had a chance to mess with my stats, I was trying to fix that.
Pump a lot of points into it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, well, I think the graphics of it are really interesting. They are kind of, I don't know, comic booky almost to me, which is not kind of what I was anticipating. The characters seem a little more fleshed out than the backgrounds do. And then the other thing I had a problem with was I didn't know where the fuck I was supposed to go or the point of me being in the game or anything. Like I was
To
just kind of let
absolve.
loose and just to go. Like at least with Dark Souls, there's some sort of like kind of like breadcrumb like here and there to kind of like go this, go do this. It was just
Not-
like, hey,
not
there's a bunch
the-
of bad guys here, kill them.
Not the original Dark Souls. That
No,
game's like
it's true.
find out. And you start wandering, and you're like, "Uh oh, this is not the direction I'm supposed to go," because you get killed instantly. And the other direction, you're like, "Oh, this is much better." These guys only slightly kill me.
I will say though, I do like how they set up the combat where you can change how your moves flow into one another and how the stance of northwest, southwest, east, west, things like that flow into each other. You can just kind of design how your character is going to move about in the middle of combat. That was really cool.
It is interesting that you can predetermine your starting stance, but as you start doing combos, it will start going into those stances. So you can kind of anticipate certain things. It's an interesting system. The only other game I can really compare it to is For Honor, and they're not the same. The only thing that's the same is you are actively changing your stance during combat.
Right.
But it is, in my opinion, a more interesting and intricate system for that. It can get pretty technical.
Yeah, because some of your moves will dodge high attacks, some of them dodge low attacks. I've had one that just jumps straight up and completely avoids anything below it. But and I beat 2 of the world bosses, but beyond that, I just didn't feel super compelled to play it anymore.
Yeah, I can feel that. Anything else?
No.
You're just not playing anymore, so
Yeah.
fuck it. Chevy.
So, like you said in the beginning, this was a game I had my eye on, but I never really pulled the trigger on purchasing it. So it was a nice, pleasant surprise to be able to try it. I love the style of the game. Actually, I think it looks really cool. It feels like they have, an idea of the kind of world they want to present to you, and I think it's done really well. I love the customization options in the game as well, especially as you start like getting, extra pieces. You turn them into scrap, and you can start dyeing your stuff to pick your colors and whatnot. In fact, I like almost everything about the game, except that I think I would like to be directed a little bit more. I also, like I've said this a million times, I struggle with Dark Souls games. I just can't play them. So ran into the same problem with this game. I'm wandering around. I don't know where I'm going. And I have so many other games to play that I just kind of want to like get through it. Like, I don't necessarily even want to beat it, but I want to like, be able to make some progress. And this was more so trial and error. Right? The first like world boss I ran into, or whatever. I don't even know if they were a boss. It could have been just one of the lackeys, because you had to kill or fight.
Was there anything like
6 lackeys
cinematic or anything?
Just zoomed in and they had a name above their head.
I think that is.
So the first one I fought repeatedly, just kicked my ass over and over again. There's nothing I could do about it. However, the plus side to that was I learned the dodge mechanic a lot better. And having had a previous conversation with Paul about how you learn moves, it was really nice that anytime they would do certain moves and I would dodge them, I'd get a nice chunk. The problem is I couldn't beat her, so I couldn't keep those chunks. That being said, I originally also did struggle with the stamina system at first, until I realized that I was just trying to play too fast. The game's definitely meant to be a lot slower paced and like very precise in the actions you take.
Someone who knows what the hell they're doing is going to be proficient as hell in this game.
For sure.
Because if you're mashing buttons, you're probably going to do fine for a little bit. But if you fight against someone who knows what they're doing, you're not going to be able to beat them.
Your ass.
And even if you're like medium proficient, like I would say I am, you're still getting your ass kicked by somebody who knows their combos like the back of their hand and knows when to switch and knows what they're doing. And I respect that a lot in that system. It's a technical system. It's not a game that easy to start playing the game, but it's going to be difficult to master. But once you do that, I feel like that game would be very rewarding.
Yeah. I also picked the dodge one as well.
This is a dodge.
Figured I should probably bring that up since I was just talking about dodging a boss. And it was probably the most rewarding thing ever, that right when they'd go to do a hit, dodge correctly, and then you essentially get that opportunity to get like 2-3 good hits in. And like, because it kind of just, as I started realizing how much like it was like Dark Souls, I started realizing I can't just sit here and swing at them, because if you do that Dark Souls, the same thing happens. You run out of stamina, right?
Yeah.
And then you just get murdered, and that was happening to me over and over again. So I got to the point where it's like 1-2 back off, 1-2-3 back off, and the fights were going a lot better. I think that the difficulty spike, and it could have been, like I said, I went to the wrong person first.
There's definitely a zone that's harder than the other ones.
I went over the other way. There's a person sitting against a tree instead, and I was able to actually fight them. And I did end up beating them a couple times, and I kept going back and forth because they would just respawn, and you could keep fighting them. So I was trying to get some more experience on a harder enemy that could still beat me, but I was able to like learn a little more. So I really do like that aspect of it a lot. I just it doesn't have enough for me to want to invest a lot of time into it and keep playing it. And I find that really unfortunate, because I actually was really looking forward to this game when it first got announced and was coming out. So that being said, I do appreciate that it has an offline mode, because I don't want to play with people.
Yeah,
even though
no wonder you fucking found that so quick.
I
I didn't even look for it. I'm just like, oh, people, fuck you, and I started hitting them.
I immediately Googled, can I play this game offline?
Don't want people.
And I wasn't looking for an off switch, or like, I was mostly wanting to know if it was going to check in with a server to see if I was playing, because some games won't let you play if you don't have an internet connection.
Or do the Dark Souls thing, just send like NPCs after you or whatever to simulate it.
So, that's pretty much all I got on it, unless something comes up when you guys start talking. But that's my general take of it so far. So
yeah, I'll go next. So first off, I just want to preface this by saying that even though I did enjoy this game, I think it is lacking in certain ways. But this is a game that I want to do well, because I want to see a sequel. That there's a lot of really good ideas here, a lot of really cool stuff, and I want Absolver 2 to come out and essentially fix everything that people might find blasé about the game, because there is a game here that I think needs to be expanded on. It's a really cool idea. It almost, in some ways, to me, feels almost more like an interactive experience, like more like a fighting game than like a game that like I really want to progress in too much. I found myself enjoying fighting real people more than I did even exploring and looking for stuff. So I mean, that's kind of the difference between like me and you, or me and Chris, is like I did like fighting random people. I also really appreciate that there's a button to get people up after you fight them, because it seems small, but in like Dark Souls, you kill somebody, you just ruin their fucking day. Because now they're dead, they got to go back and find their souls and shit. And they didn't want to fight you, or maybe they did, and they just got really amped up. In this, you can fight a random person, even if you're just being a dick and you punch someone and then they beat you. If they're feeling generous enough, they can help you up, and you don't have to go respawn somewhere. And that's great for the community, because every time I got in a fight, and I won a lot of the fights, not trying to like, oh, I'm fucking awesome, but every once in a while someone would kick my ass, and I'm like, oh, you asshole. And then they'd walk over and get me up, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Great. I can continue. We got our fight in. We got, some experience out of that. And we can move on with our life. And it felt less detrimental, although there is an insult to just leaving somebody. There's one guy that I fought and killed, and he respawned like right next to me. I talked about this on a prior episode, but he's like ran out of the spawn point at me. I started fighting him again, and I killed him. And then I ran up the stairs, and he respawned and chased me up the stairs, and I knocked him into the ocean. I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I was like, left. So like, this guy's never gonna stop fighting me. He's just always, I'm gonna get you. But yeah, really cool idea. It's got that Dark Souls, like you die and you got to respawn back there. I don't think you really lose anything though. Maybe your dignity, at the most.
If you haven't mastered a move, you lose it.
Oh yeah, okay. But yeah, the fighting is fun. If you think about it more like if you're playing a fighting game, it makes a lot more sense than like if you're just trying to play like action game. So you want to take your time. Like if you're playing like Street Fighter or something like that, you're not just gonna run up the guy and start swinging. You're gonna like anticipate the moves, use your moves, all that kind of stuff. I think one thing I did think though, the combat's fun. I like it. It's very intricate. I did not get super good at it, but I got okay at it. I wish the impacts felt a little more
thud.
Little more to it, yeah. Because every once in a while I'm just like, and like it's like, and I know in real life, like you punch someone, it doesn't make a big noise, but like I like it just adds a little bit of excitement when you get that impact in a game.
Yeah.
In a game like that, I think it would add a lot to it, especially like when I'm fighting someone, I punch them in the face and they fly into the ocean. If you get like a nice crack sound, I think it would just add a little bit to it. It's just something I kept thinking about, so I think it was worth bringing up. What were you gonna say?
Although I had remembered one other positive point I wanted to bring up for the game is I think the deck system is awesome.
That's what I'm saying. This game's
Yeah.
full of really cool ideas. I think it needs to be focused and just made better. Because another thing too is like I wish exploring was more exciting. I get like you guys want more guidance, and I do in a way, but at the same time I'm okay with just kind of like wandering around or whatever and kind of getting that subtle guidance from like, here's a boss, you're probably going to progress from here. Here's I forget what they call them in the game, but essentially the pawn fires, keep moving forward. But I don't know, like the world feels, sometimes NPCs aren't loaded and there's nobody there. So I feel like I'm running around like an empty place, and when I find stuff, it's never really like exciting stuff. I never really found, like every once in a while I find something that's a little better than what I got, and that's cool. But I never found something I was like, oh shit, this is awesome.
How much of the map do you feel like you explored?
I don't know. It's hard to say because I don't know how big the map is. In the like ruins area, I think I went like 3 or 4 zones in, and then in the forest area I went like 4, 5, or 6 in. I don't know. I went pretty far into that place. There's another area that I tried going into, but it was like difficult, so I like backed off from that main first hub area. That's the thing, is like I was kind of struggling, and the whole time I was playing I was like, is there something beyond that I need to get to maybe appreciate it more? Because like I've said a million times now, like there's so many things to the game I really like. I just feel like something was missing, some key element.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I want to talk about it more when I'm talking about it. I can't.
yeah, yeah, and that's why I'm saving you for last, because I know you're gonna have probably more to say on it than any of us. But
I guarantee you played it more than we did. So.
Yeah, I put a little bit of time into it for sure, because I enjoyed it.
What level you are?
No, I don't remember. But yeah, like I said, really good ideas, and this is a game I want a sequel for, because I feel like it can only get better, and it's already a really cool idea. And plus, it's published by Devolver. This isn't a AAA game, so for them to have like the guys who actually developed it have this idea and be able to get a game that's online with servers, you're playing with other people, and it runs this smooth, and it's a fully fleshed out idea.
Minus invisible people.
Yeah, I didn't run into that, luckily. I think there's a lot of potential here that I would like to see focused into something more robust. I'll leave it at that, because I'm dying to hear what Paul has to say about it.
Oh, I've fucking been dying to talk about this game. I like this game so much. Like, I hear all your points, and I agree with some of them, but the biggest thing is the world exploring. I really enjoyed. Like, I've tried a few Dark Souls and Bloodborne. I think I tried Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne, and not that I didn't like them, I just didn't really get too sucked into them. But this game has completely sucked me in. But I kind of took a weird approach to this game, because I like the combat more than anything in this game, and I really love the system of every battle you can gain moves. Anybody who attacks you with a move you don't have, if you block it or dodge it, then you get a little fraction of that move. And if you fill up the circle, once you win that match, then you earn that move, and then you could build your deck out bigger than that. So I kind of like think of this game almost as like a fighting game Pokemon type thing, where I'm going slowly through this world and trying to find all these moves, it's funny because Chevy was talking about that boss under the tree, and I believe that's the first marked one. And I did that match so many times, like, and it gave me like an idea of Kill Bill, maybe Volume 2, when she goes up the mountain and trains with that master. Like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what I felt like I was doing. Like, I got killed so many fucking times in that match, but I wouldn't give up. I just kept going back and fight, because he has like 2 people with him too.
Right
And
before him, yeah.
got my ass kicked so many times, and I played online the entire time. And I don't mind playing other people. I will get into that, but I really dislike when you are halfway through a match and then all of a sudden 2 people walk up and start fighting you and the other person
Yep.
out of nowhere. And like, even if he did, like, he died a couple times before I ever got a chance to kill him because there was all of us there. And it's like, well, that's just like, that doesn't count as a win for me, but you still get the experience for it, whether you're co-opt up with them or not. Because through the gestures, you can.
It is really interesting that people can join the fight and whether they come in and kill you while you're fighting or like they kill something and they essentially helped you, it does kind of muddy the progress.
It's neat that they wanted to make this online and all open and everything like that. But the thing is, although I love the combat, it's not good at crowd control.
No.
And like, anytime you get into you're just accidentally hitting everyone. Like, unless you're really fucking good at it. I
That
guess.
was really frustrating. You can lock on to the enemy, but my character would still attack the person that I wasn't locked on to.
A lot of times, even the enemy is hitting the enemy, even if it's
Yeah.
an NPC. Like, they'll beat up their own guys by accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one guy. As you're heading towards the one marked one that's in like the broken down shack or whatever, there's the hole in the ground with the boards over it and the sword in the middle. And there's one person who stands there and one person off the side usually, and the person off the side came running up while they're I guess they're not really friends or whatever, but the other NPC did like a sweeping motion and hit that person into the hole and killed him. So I was just like,
Oops.
cool.
Yep. But I almost feel like it would just be better if they figured out a way to just make it one-on-one fights, because the one-on-one fights are where this combat is the strongest. Like,
Yeah, I love that.
your time and slowly planning it out and monitoring your stamina and everything like that, it just gets so much more difficult with multiple people in the fight. But so I went through it really slowly, and as I felt like I built my deck up and I started to earn the ability to add more combos to my moves and started to really get into building my deck, 2 things. One, while building it, I felt like the moves were more impactful because I figured out ways to like start from northeast and then move my way around. Then I'd end up backwards and do like a spinning kick that was like moved into the next move. And it, like, as those combos, I felt like I built them, it felt more impactful because I felt like I created it. Maybe not the sound was more, but like, it's like I planned it out and it actually worked. And sometimes it absolutely didn't, because you can leave yourself way open with that too. But it also let me like, all right, I'm going to try to experience this more. And I realized how like intricate, like the map is awful. There's that guidance bridge, and that map does not make any sense.
Yeah, I agree.
At all. But the world is really intricate, and as I got further in and realized it's bigger than I thought it was, and a lot of the world kind of loops around too. Like you'll know that you've reached the end because you're ending back in a place that you've been before. But then you notice another path off to the side, and I felt like the world design, at first I was a little like intimidated and thought it was sparse, but like over time I like learned to really, really like it. Even just tonight I found a whole nother area, the bird calling tower or something like that that I've never been to, and was like, oh, this is awesome, and it's got a really different look. I love the look of the game. The graphics aren't great, but the artistic style is like so like creative, and what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like other things.
Unique.
Yeah, unique. That's the one.
That's something that I didn't touch on in my impressions too, and I just kind of went back. The graphics are minimal, and it doesn't bother me. It's fine. It's kind of flat, muted, but I do really like the style. The style is really cool, and it does have an identity. It doesn't look like another game.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird like cross between like a post-apocalyptic kung fu thing, but there's also elements of sci-fi in it somehow.
Yeah.
Like with the towers and the glowing stuff and everything like
Right.
that. I thought that was really neat. But
I like
but
the
yeah,
masks too. The emphasis on everyone having a mask.
I absolutely want to keep playing this game. And as far as fighting other people, like people can be kind of dicks in this game, especially if they're invisible and they keep trying to fight you, or if like you can go down and work on your equipment and like nail on the ground, and people can fight you while you're doing that. And like just earlier tonight, I was like, I got a new mask, so I was like trying to dye it, and all of a sudden this dude started hitting me. So I like stood up. I was like, all right, you want to fight? And then he ran away. So I like chased him for way too long, and finally ended up trapping him in this corner. And I thank God I killed him, because if he beat me, I would have been so pissed. But like you said, I picked him up, I bowed at him, and then I walked away. And I felt like, all right, I did the honorable thing here.
Yeah.
And it was more of like a story thing for me. But the thing about the combat is I'm not huge into fighting games, and like the Dark Souls combat never really did it to me, but I feel like this is more slow paced, which is one kind of guilty pleasure genre that I'm into. I don't like wrestling, like WWE or whatever. I don't. But I really like wrestling games. That kind of slow-paced environmental combat, where it's counter heavy and stuff like that. I'm really into those kind of games. Gang Beasts would be like another version of that, that's not wrestling and stuff like that. But like kind of that like fighting that has a lot of not pacing, but spacing and stuff like that. Like different ways to in a 3D environment approach your enemy and stuff like that. I really like those. So this kind of gets part of my brain going, where I really, really enjoy those kind of fighting games. And I am so into building out my deck and trying to like, I just, last night I unlocked 2 more slots, and I can build 3 moves in the both northern facing stances and 2 moves in the southern facing stances. I don't know. I think there's 60 levels in this game, but I got to level 18. So I have a long way to go, but I don't want to rush it. That's the thing with this game. I want to like take my time and keep learning moves and keep building on that. I don't really care about like the game story, because I feel like I'm kind of doing my own thing. Like the story seems to be just become a better fighter.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
Even with the name, just to absolve people's moves or whatever. Now that you mentioned your level, though, I do think I was 11 or 12.
Yeah. But yeah, the music in this game too, Austin Wintory, I think he did an awesome job on the soundtrack. I don't know if your viewers are familiar, but he did like the Journey soundtrack, Abzu.
Oh, was it the same guy?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I love Journey soundtrack.
Banner Saga stuff. He's a pretty big name in game composing. But yeah, I think I have this album on my phone, and I've listened to it by itself and stuff like that. Like it's a really good piece of work on its own, but it matches the game aesthetic so well. Kind of like that same thing where it's like old with like old martial arts, like bells and things like that, but there's also like an electronic pulsing sporadicness to it, and a lot of like military drums and stuff like that. But yeah, I just love the feel of this game. I love the world. I think the way it just throws you in there is perfect for it. Like I feel like if they spelled it out for you better, or if they gave you a better map, then you'd be more real. You'd realize more how small the world is, because it's not a big world. Once you go around it, you're like, oh, I know where everything is now, and I know how to get there. But it's more about exploring and taking your time and fighting each pawn on the way, or fallen, or whatever they call themselves. I don't know. It's unlike, I can't think of any game that's really like, and people are saying it's like a fighting game, but it doesn't feel like a fighting game. You do fight, but like fighting game, that's a genre. This is not that. It's kind of like a cross between a brawler, Dark Souls, and an RPG, maybe.
Yeah. The only reason I can kind of follow the fighting game thing is because when you do fight somebody, if it's a one-on-one fight, there is almost like you lining up with them, and like I could even see it closer, like without the weapons, of course, like Soul Calibur, from a different angle. When it is multiple people, though, it absolutely is a brawler. I'll agree with you on that. But when you do get those one-on-one fights, which is the thing, I agree with you. I liked fighting people one-on-one because it felt like more of a test of my skill versus theirs. And it felt more personal than like, I'm like, oh shit, this guy's swinging at me. I need to back up. I need to hit that guy over there. And hopefully the guy I'm locked onto here, I don't hit that guy to my right.
Yeah. But one of the things that makes it feel less like a fighter to me is the actual mechanic of it, because it's pretty much like a one and a power move, but in game. and stances are how you change, and you build the combos. The combos are all like one button combos, with moving the analog stick for combos. So it doesn't feel like most fighting games where it's like you're memorizing these button presses, which I like fighting games and I play them as often as I can, but I never get good at that. At like, once you get to like the 10 hit combo, that's it for me. I'm out, and that's a challenge. So I don't know. I could probably go on for very long, and I'll bring up more stuff as it comes up. But I just am digging the shit out of this game.
Yeah, that's cool to hear, because I'm closer to you on that, just because I enjoyed it. I see the potential there, but there, like I said, for me, it feels like there's something missing. But it is a game that I wanted to keep going to see if there would be some kind of hook that would finally hit me, because there's so many really cool ideas. There's a boss that pissed me off. Pretty sure it's a boss, because there's a cinematic that happens when you get to him. But he has like, I don't know, like 4 or 6 people who attack you while you're fighting him the whole time. Did you guys fight him?
Yep.
Yeah, the one in the Coliseum, the wrestling Coliseum.
Yeah. He was annoying just because of that lock-on thing. I would like after a while I start rushing around the guys just to start hitting him, and at the end he starts using like more powerful moves.
That was the probably the point in the game where I really started liking it, actually, because I did not expect a cinematic or anything like that. But
it threw me off.
There's 2 bosses, him and another one, that has that cinematic where there's like the glitch, like the fold, I think they call it, or something like that. And there's 5 marked ones you have to beat, and there's a bunch of mini bosses they call like masked ones or something like that you can get masks from. And you have to beat all of them in order to get through up that tower or something like. I don't know what happens after the tower. But yeah, when that happened, I was like, the weird thing about that fight is as far as I could tell, you can't. I couldn't do anything to him until I beat like 3 of his first 3 waves. Like, he wouldn't even attack me. He was just staying back while he had.
Oh, really? When I first fought him, he had 2 dudes. I took them out because, like any game, you take out the ads, and then I started hitting him, and it did minor damage, but it did. I definitely got him down to about halfway, and then his ads showed up again. But there's more of them, and at that point, they wouldn't stop showing up. I'd kill them, and they would keep coming, and I got him down to like this much. And
that sounds annoying as hell. I had 3 waves of them, beat them, and then no more came out. It was just me and him, and he actually started fighting.
I didn't get that. They would not stop showing up.
Yeah.
Same. They just kept coming and coming and coming and coming.
That's the problem with this game. There is glitches in it. Other than the people disappearing, like I've had like AI glitches where somebody's fighting me, then all of a sudden they stand still, turn around, and walk away and go back to what they were doing.
Yeah, I had a person run away too when I was in the middle fighting them.
So there are issues with it, but I feel like it's a small team and not a AAA game, and I'm more forgiving of that.
Yeah,
maybe I shouldn't be, but
no. I'm on the same page. I always look at the team size, and if it's a smaller team, I can look past a lot of things, because you have to realize what they had to accomplish with less resources than like an EA, an Activision, or an Ubisoft.
In fact, it's easier, in that regard, especially when you look like. Hey, what was the example I saw recently where they showed oh god, I can't even think now. They showed off it was indie versus AAA, and it showed Mass Effect Andromeda and the graphics of that game, and then they showed oh man, what game was it now? Shit, I lost it. Some indie game that just looks absolutely gorgeous though, and it's just like there's a reason people get mad. AAA games don't meet a certain level, because when a smaller team can accomplish this and these guys can't, there's a problem.
Well, and smaller teams are always driven by passion more than anybody working on a AAA team is going to be really passionate about their project, but the ideas and what they're going to sell is supposed to make money. So I feel like there's a complacency of like, we know what we're doing, we've done this before, we're going to make it again, whereas like an indie developer really has to like do something special. So I mean, like, even if they have like less powerful graphics in their game, they're still going to find a way to show it off and maybe use certain effects to really make it look better than it is.
Yeah.
And also a lot of AAA games, they have multiple teams. Like they'll hire a company to do like hand animations or something
specific
like that.
Things,
and they could be great at that, but it might not match up with what this other team that has never met them and is in another country did. So like eventually they're going to have to release it. So maybe there's still some issues with that. Whereas a smaller team is going to be more cognizant of what they're all doing and have one goal, you know?
Yeah, have a closer connection, better communication stuff. 'Cause there's a lot of games that like they'll be making the game and then like halfway through the production, they're like, let's put multiplayer in, and they have like someone over in the UK working on the multiplayer aspect. And then when the multiplayer or the single player sucks, but the other part's good, people are like, what the fuck?
Well,
and it's like, well, they're different people who made this part of the game.
That was Deus Ex. The boss fights were made by a different company. And
Yeah, which is so
and it was
bizarre.
Such
And
a
that
fucking,
showed.
yeah, it showed.
Yeah, because the rest of the game is great, and then you did that, and it's like, all right, kill him. And it's like,
Boring.
okay, I guess I'll just shoot him until he dies. Unlike the rest of the game, they fixed that in the second one. Way better game.
But yeah, I did think of something else too. The other thing that them not explaining a lot and letting you kind of discover the stuff for yourself. I keep finding like you unlock things, right? Like every boss or every max one you beat, you get a new power with the that you use the shards for. And you get shards whenever you're hit, but also there's an aspect to your combos. So every move, if you watch the stamina bar, there's actually a little gold bar. And if you hit that, you get a shard whenever you do it. And I think you lose less stamina as well. It's really hard because it's a different time for every move and everything like that. And you really have to get it down. But adding that complexity onto what I'm already trying to do is really difficult. But when you get it perfectly, it feels so fucking good, because then you could do like this awesome combo and then drop the like quake or something like that and then continue doing it because you still have stamina. It just feels fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think I did that.
Yeah. When I was fighting the tree boss, actually, because after I'd learned a lot about the mechanics of combat from the gal in the fucking shed that whooped my ass over and over again.
Shed gal.
Yeah,
That's her name.
the person by the tree I was fighting, and it was like I could always tell by his posture, like he's getting ready to do like that kick where the leg lights up or whatever. And I would dodge to the left, and you get that like blur effect when your timing's right. And it seemed like because the dodge build, if you dodge and immediately hit, you get some health back, is another part of it too. So I would use that, especially if I got down to half health, to try to like get some health back. And plus the move to the left, I think as well, was a heal type ability as well.
Yeah, it's a slow heal regen. And if you hit them, you gain more health. And if you do your windfall move and hit them, then you gain even more health.
Yeah.
But if they hit you at any time, once you do it, then it's just gone. So you don't regain shit.
Yep. And so, yeah, I was trying to get good at that part so that I could like get full health, maybe be a little more reckless because I was comfortable again. And then when I get to about half, I'd start getting really careful and protective. In fact, if you end up using the footage, you'll see parts where me and the boss are literally just like walking in a circle. And
I'm gonna need that footage.
So
Yeah, wait. Like absolutely. There's so much like staring down in that game for me. Like who's gonna hit first, and when you finally get that poke in, like. But yeah, obviously, like I forgot to mention, I also went with windfall. I went with dodging, and I was close at the beginning of the game to going back and trying something else because it's hard. It's really hard to know where that
like
move
exact
is going to
almost.
end up. To.
I loved
Like,
it.
You can't just dodge left for everything. You know, if somebody does like some kind of kick, they're going to hit you with it. But it feels so good if you like do a jump dodge over a sweep or something like that. Fuck, like that's where I feel that impact that you're
I could
talking about.
not nail that.
I think defensively, I feel better than actually like kicking somebody's ass in that game. I think when you can like fucking dodge the shit out of somebody and just embarrass them, that's where it feels so fucking good.
I wish I got that feeling out of it. I was feeling that when you're saying that. I'm like, that sounds good.
yeah,
It's hard though. It's so fucking hard, and I don't think there's totally still people that are kicking my ass at it. It's just I feel like I have the tools to do it, and every now and then when I pull something off, it feels fucking great, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I hope I get better, but there's people that are going to be ridiculous and just.
That was the thing when I was playing it too. I was like, there's probably some really fucked up people in this game who are just like
What I've
impossible.
It seems like the people that are really good though are more respectful than like the people that are like just like running in and doing a slide kick to you while you're fighting people and then running away. Like, they're obviously new.
Skill wise, I can't really speak on because everyone I fought was pretty much as good as me or worse. But I noticed, at least in my experience, that everybody who had like similar gear to me that hadn't been playing as long, probably all, people who picked it up for PlayStation Plus, they were all really chill. All of us new guys were like, "Oh, what's up? What's up? What's up?" I mean, I was probably the biggest instigator. I'd run and just clock someone in the head. I'm like, well, all right, let's try this out. And they'd either run away or they'd stare at me while I keep punching them, or they'd be like, "What the fuck?" And we started hitting each other. But like people who were like geared out, they'd always come after me. Like if they looked really cool, they would always try and come kill me.
When I started the game, I ran away from everybody because I was fucking terrified. I am not good at this. They're going to kick my ass. But once I realized that you could get moves by blocking, and if they beat you, it doesn't matter. Like, even if they don't pick you up, it's never like the save point is that far away, and you don't lose anything. So, like, I was just like, I'll approach a dude, and sometimes people bow before a fight or something like that. I'll do that, or just, like, approach them and have my guard up, and if they want to fight, I will. If they don't, I won't, or sometimes I will anyway. But there's not really anything to lose. Like, most people are going to have more moves than any of the NPCs, so it's possible if you beat them, you'll get moves. So it's just kind of a win-win, which is cool for the online. I just really wish somehow the online and the story were separated, whether that's in instances or you went into a arena for...
That's a good idea.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's an Absolver 2 thing. They are doing an update in August with some new content that's free. But
that's cool.
I don't really know.
I think they are adding a versus mode, actually.
So.
Yeah, I was really actually surprised to see that they didn't have something like that. I think there is, in the beginning area, though, you can go, it had like a 1v1 and a 3v3 or something like that.
Yeah.
Arena or something. I was kind of curious in doing that, but... because that's what I was mainly playing it for a while there. I was just attacking people or hoping somebody would attack me. Yeah.
It's weird with the co-op. I don't see any like need for the co-op in it, really.
That was the thing, is like I was really excited at first. I was like, oh shit, I need to get Chevy in here and we can do the co-op or whatever. And the more I played it, I was just like, it'd be nice to have someone that I know isn't going to kick my ass, who can help me out in a fight or whatever. But I can't see it making the experience better, because in a group fight, you might be accidentally punching them, and they're going to be punching the NPCs who are punching each other, and it's just going to be like this clusterfuck. And I almost like the idea, like you brought up earlier, and I kind of was backing it, like when you fight someone one-on-one, I feel like is the best experience in the game. And, if I had my friend there, and they're just punching the guy too, it would take away from that, like, combat feeling, almost.
Or you go up to a marked one, and he has two creeps with him, and you're with Chevy. Like, what are you like? All right, I'll take out the marked one, and you can like handle those chumps. Like,
yeah, it almost cheapens the experience.
There's never like a situation I've experienced where two people, like, you're not going to both fight the same guy, because it's just going to be bad. You're going to have to take turns, like any kung fu movie ever.
Yeah,
where everybody stands there and then they jump in, like tag team them. But why? I guess you guys could both farm moves that way.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I think they added it because people wanted it, and I'm glad they did, because that might be, a deal breaker for somebody if they. I mean, it was for me, but now that I've played it, I see that, like, and I still regret that I didn't try it. I would have liked to try that, but I do think this game is a better solitary experience for your journey. Running into people, I think, is great, because it adds a dynamic to it.
Like that dude that kicked me while I was changing my clothes. That was a cool story, because I beat him. It would have been a horrible story if I didn't.
Yeah, it would be something you don't really use. It's something more to complain about.
It doesn't need to be tied to the story characters. Like, I don't know. It's weird. It would be too hard to kind of separate that. I almost feel like they wanted to do this world with multiple people, but how would you really instance that out? That's probably a lot more online work.
Yeah, I just feel like you could probably have like certain areas that are like open zones, like the whole game is, and then have certain areas that are more for the experience and are more planned out and stuff like that. And I think that would have been a good way to do it.
Isn't that how they did Dark Souls 2? Isn't sections of the game multiplayer doesn't actually kick in?
No, people can invade you at any place, but there are areas where you can run into other people.
For some reason, I was thinking there was areas where
Well, there's places like you
didn't
can
work.
you can go in that people are a part of, and they get essentially a message. It's like someone who's not part of your clan or whatever the fuck is there. You need to defend it, and so you can warp there and go kill them. There's also like a big forest area too where people will like warp in and out of and shit. But like for the most part, you know, it's mostly people using some kind of resource to go invade people's worlds. The game is fucking crazy when it comes to how they implement the multiplayer. Yeah, but yeah, this game, yeah,
Maybe learn some lessons from Dark Souls. Maybe that's like what inspired this for them or something like that. Because
it's definitely inspired by Dark Souls.
A bit of, maybe they like the fact that you can grief people, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because it's not like it's not encouraged, and you don't lose much from it.
Yeah.
It's irritating sometimes, you know?
Well, as a dude who's played a lot of games that has like that open freedom of people deciding if they want to kill you or not, like playing DayZ or whatever, I'm not opposed to that kind of thing. I think it makes more interesting stories because there's a dynamic that an NPC or AI is not going to make. And so, you know, if I run into a situation that's similar to yours, the people around me are going to really change that up. So I'm not opposed to it, but it would be kind of cool to see, like you were saying, almost a separation of the two, because then you can still get those situations and stories happening, but then you can also focus on the story and the progression of the game as well. So I think that's a good idea. But like I said, I think this game's full of great ideas. I'm the guy who's waiting for Absolver 2. I like Absolver. I want to see Absolver 2 take everything that they learned from this game and just make a better game that can go like, this is fucking what I wanted, like 100%. Although I'm glad that Paul enjoyed it, like seemingly much more than everybody else. I enjoyed it too, but I definitely, you know, I'm not playing it right now. So,
Right.
But well, that's unfair. I was about to say it's still installed. Heavy Rain isn't. Heavy Rain didn't work, so I'd be stupid to keep that installed. But yeah, should we get into recommendations, or do you want to say anything else? Anybody? Paul, got anything else you want to say?
No, I think recommendations are good.
I'll let you go first.
I would recommend this. You know, it's tough for me to say Dark Souls because I feel like there's some Dark Souls to this game, but like having never really been into it. Anybody who's into any kind of slow-paced combat system, maybe like a For Honor type thing with less story and more focus on the combat.
I would back that, yeah.
But anybody who is into like defensive fighting games, I guess. And also like I feel like it's a really cool world. I feel like it's got a neat aesthetic and striking visual design. It's got great music. I think lots of people should try this game because I feel like people like I didn't expect like I wanted it because I'm a Devolver fan and it looked cool, but I didn't think it would really be as up my alley as it was. That's why like I almost bought it on Steam when it was on sale, but I was like, I'll wait, you know. But then it was free on PS Plus, so I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this, and I ended up loving it. So, I mean, if you have the chance, I mean, most of your listeners are gonna have PS Plus. Give it a shot. Like, you might just give it a little bit of time. Like, really take your time, focus on the combat, see if it's something you can get into, especially whatever defensive style you want to do. And remember, like, there's not much to lose when you lose a fight. All you're trying to do is get these moves to make yourself a better fighter. So,
which will make the fights easier as you progress. So it's kind of like you were saying. It's that scene where you're training with a guy who's kicking your ass until you're finally kicking their ass.
Yeah. People that are interested in kung fu movies, the animation and like the martial arts in this game are great. And the fight deck stuff, once you unlock a lot of moves, like you can do some crazy ass stuff. You could do a full combo like all the way around, because that's the thing, when you build your move you choose the ending position that you're in. So if you just think that through, you can go around the whole thing, but you might want to just save like three hits for something that's just going to be a quick thing, and then another thing that's like this whole grand tour of ass beating. So I don't know. That's another thing that's more of a like wrestling game thing where you design moves and stuff like that, like create a fighter with your own moves. I don't know. It's not like a lot of other games, so that's why it probably appealed to different people.
Yeah, that's one thing that you brought up that I want to back as well when you said everybody should at least try it. I agree with that because it is a niche game in my opinion, but who is the niche? Yeah, I mean, you got to discover it because this game takes after certain things, but it absolutely is its own game. So I think it needs to develop a group of people who are going to enjoy it, and it's hard to really nail who those people are. So people should try it because it does take after a lot of things.
It's almost an evolution of old school brawlers, you know, like Streets of Rage and shit like that. In a way, so maybe
Fighting
people are
Force,
into that, as well as like third person action games, like, you know, not nowhere near as fast paced as God of War or anything like that, but there's a little bit of that, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm gonna add even if you think it's like a fighting game or not a fighting game, if you're into fighting games, you're probably gonna dig this game because it is adversarial. You're fighting other people hand-to-hand combat. If you're a competitive person, I think this is probably worth checking out. Even if you're not a competitive person, you should still check it out. But if you do like fighting other people, you're gonna probably like this game. Just because it's a pretty strong point of the game, or can be if you want to be that guy. If you're that person who likes like really aesthetically interesting looking games, it's definitely a game worth checking out and exploring because it does have a cool art style. You already said brawlers, and I definitely agree with that as well. I think it's interesting that you said, even though it does take after Dark Souls in some ways, you don't know if you would suggest it to people who like Dark Souls, because I would suggest it to them only because of the challenge and going back to everybody should try it. But I do agree that like it's inspired by Dark Souls, but it doesn't take after it. It's not the same type of game. So it's if you play Dark Souls and you love Dark Souls because it's Dark Souls, you're not going to get that experience with this game. It in its map design and in its exploration and its challenge, it's inspired by it. But the gameplay is not Dark Souls. It's closer to a fighting game. It's closer to a brawler game. It is way more methodical. Dark Souls is methodical in the sense of I don't want to die, but this game's methodical in the sense of like, how can I best this person and take them out efficiently? Because there are moments where you're not even hitting each other. You're just kind of walking around, like trying to figure out, like, okay, what am I going to do? It's not like the enemy's just jumping at you and you're like, oh God, I don't want to die. So yeah, I wouldn't send you over because of Dark Souls. I would send you over just like, if you want a game that's challenging, check it out, but it's not Dark Souls. So you're not going to dig it for that reason. Yeah, if you like games with loot, even though there's not a shitload, but I mean, there is definitely loot and progression. It's there. So you're not just going to be playing a game to beat people. There's stuff to obtain, moves, stuff like that. But yeah, this is kind of a tough one to really suggest, because I don't think everyone's going to love it, but I think everybody should try it because we got to find the people who do love it. Because it's definitely a cool game. It's its own thing for sure. Because it's hard to even define it. I mean, we've been talking most of this discussion trying to define this game as something, and it's been difficult. So
definitely need patience. People with patience.
Yeah. No, yeah, this is not a game for somebody who wants to get in there and kill things and rank up and unlock new shit. Like,
it's not for Call of Duty players.
Yeah, and I love Call of Duty. I love shooting things and ranking up. But I love all games, so it's easy for me. But yeah, people who are into that, and I'm with you. That's addicting shit. It's like a drug. You're not gonna like this game because you need to stop and just take it in and realize when you do lose, like Paul said, it's not a loss. It's more of a lesson, if anything. So.
Oh, it's way better than I put it.
I can be decent with words every once in a while. Anything you guys want to add to that?
I mean, I'm just gonna rattle off some. If they're repeats, they're repeats.
Battletoads.
I do think that if you are into the Soulsborne formula of games, which is developing into its own genre at this point, this does, I think, fit into that, even though it is on the edge of that.
Yeah, loosely.
So You still have aspects of that there. I also think, like you said, fighting games, and then exploration games, and to use a weird example, like Legend of Zelda, where you're running around, you're exploring stuff like that. It's the same kind of, idea. It's less, open world, more hallways, but you're still running around and exploring things. And listening to Paul talk about, like being somewhere a couple times, and also, he went into a different spot, and there was that bird something tower. I can't remember what you said it was called, but that was something you got to discover because the map isn't just directing you. So, and then if you want a game that is going to make you feel rewarded for winning, I do think that this is a good game for that, because the game is challenging, and when you win, it's very unlikely that it was by accident. So the fights are very unforgiving, so you have to be paying attention.
Definitely.
This game is so unique in everything that it does. It's such an amalgamation of everything, but in its own way. So it's really hard to recommend this game specifically for one person or a group of people or another. So like Ariel says, I think everybody should play this game, but go into it knowing you need to be patient and really, really, really take your time. I can't stress that enough. Like everybody said, rushing through this is not going to get you anywhere, and you're going to get frustrated and you're going to stop playing it. But that all being said, I still think everybody should at least try this out. Try all the stances, the first beginning 3 stances you get, just to see which one works with you or which one doesn't. It's just so hard to nail this down for anybody.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would say though, if you're the type of person who's gonna start freaking out when a fight lasts too long, you're probably not gonna last very long in this game. So, Josh.
Yeah, and if you need to pause ever, because I don't know about an offline mode, but you can't really pause.
Yeah, it's happening.
You can't pause, but no one's gonna spawn either. So
yeah.
So
Well, if you're in the middle of a match or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So.
I will say, I there's a couple times where I would beat a person. It's like, you leveled up, and I would just handle it right there because I knew no one was going to attack me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but if the phone rings, then you're kind of screwed in the middle of a match.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I don't answer my phone.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I might get back to you someday. Might hear from me in 3 years. All right, yeah. It's really interesting. I think it's like the hardest time we've had pinpointing a group of people to play a game. So it's really interesting to have that conversation. Let's get
If you're into masks, then you should probably play this game.
I mean, some people played Team Fortress 2 for the hats. So I mean, there could be people. Well, there's people like that. So there might be people like, I want all the masks.
I'm into hats. I'm not fucking playing Team Fortress, man.
People with mask fetishes. We don't kink shame.
And fucking kink shaming.
Maybe
it's a bad reason to play a game.
This game just might get them in a place they haven't been before.
Yeah, whatever.
Right?
Let's grade this
sexually,
fucker, man.
Sexually. And if you're into that, cool. This game's for you. There's people into balloons. Okay, it's fine.
That always gets brought up.
It's interesting. I love that shit. Chris, grade it.
Me first? Oh god.
Yeah.
This is really hard for me because, like I said, there's a lot of stuff unique to this game. And it does a lot of interesting things, but I don't think they all are fine tuned.
Just give it that loving D-. You're just wanting to give it.
No.
Very lovingly, it's a D fucking minus.
It's like a C for me. It's really middle of the road because I think I could go back and try this again and probably have a more interesting time if I took more time than I already did to it. But I think it needs to be fine tuned. So it's just a C. It's kind of
okay.
Yeah,
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I didn't hear a grade. I thought you were just giving us your opinion on it. I'm like, all right, cool.
It's
my grade
fine.
Twice now. It's middle of the road for me. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible.
Yeah. So C. That's I mean, it's passing. So, Paul, you go ahead because I want to see the contrast between you and Chris's opinions.
I'm gonna go with an A- on this game, and I almost want to go higher, but with the glitchiness of it, I can't really. I really like this game, and I could see myself playing it for a while. And I love the world design, and I love the uniqueness of it. But there's those couple things that irk me about it that don't let it be an A. But I want it to be, and I feel like they could fix it without even a sequel. I feel like they could make this an A game if they just fix the glitches, and like this new patch could be like really cool, you know.
That's a really fair point. That they could fix pretty much everything that's even been a concern. That could be patched easily.
No Man's Sky can do it after 2 years.
Yeah. Ubisoft does it with all their games. They release it, and then a year later, it's like really good.
Except for Primal, there's no fixing that.
Primal.
Far Cry Primal.
I liked Far Cry fucking Primal. No fixing that. It was pretty much like a full conversion mod, but I liked it.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I think A- is. I mean, it's not a bad score. So
that's a very good score.
Really high score.
I say we generally consider C to be passing, so as long as it's C or higher, it was a good game.
Yeah.
So.
I consider. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, the A area is like stellar, but A- I think is a really, especially with how much you've said, I feel A- from you because you've pretty much said that you really like it, you like everything about it, but you acknowledge that it has some faults, so you can't give it that high grade, even though you've said you want to give it that. So I feel that makes sense.
I like this this world enough that if I was a cosplayer, I would probably cosplay it. So it's got to be like an A-.
You could start anytime,
really
man.
easy to do.
Some of those outfits, you just got to take your shirt off and put a mask on.
Or rip your pants.
Yeah.
Put
Get some
on
brown pants and rip
capris,
them.
a tank top, a nice jacket, and wear a mask. You're done.
Get some styrofoam to shove it on your face and put some
Piece
eye
of
holes.
bark off a tree and
Yeah. That's a lot of work. Then you're killing a tree.
cheap cosplay.
You murderer. So C and A-. I'm gonna go with a B-. Higher than I actually originally, before we even talked about this, was gonna go. I was originally gonna give it a C+. But talking through it, I still really am. I really want to push the ideas here are great. The potential here is great. The gameplay is fun. I enjoyed the game quite a bit. There's just some things that I want a little bit more from. And to be honest, I like fighting games and stuff like that, but this isn't exactly my type of game. It's a game I enjoy. It's fun, but it doesn't fall in my wheelhouse of games that I get like addicted to. So, but it is better than I thought it was going to be. So I think B-, upping that from what I was going to originally do. It's a good game. It's a good game, and I got to give it more credit than I was gonna because this is a small developer who made this game. This should be difficult to do. They did it, and they did it well. It did have glitches. I didn't experience those, so it doesn't affect my grade. It does suck those exist. But those happen, and I'm sure they'll fix them. I'm really curious about that update that you've talked about a couple times now because first off, it's free. I love that is like the trend right now. It's the best trend in gaming in a long time. So there's something coming on the horizon, and I'm really excited to see what that is. And I'll probably keep it installed just to check that out when that comes out. But B-, strong B-.
So I have to say right off the bat that I do not think this is a bad game, and I actually think it's a really good game, and that it has
Here it comes.
it has a lot of really good ideas. Like I said before, the deck system is really cool. I think it is one of the most interesting aspects of the game, being able to like Paul said, kind of get like some ownership over your moves and your combo, and it's really satisfying to like go through a whole combo in a fight and be like, yeah, that was my, I planned that all out and it worked for me, and I think that's great.
Personality of the progression
for sure. That being said, there are aspects of this game that don't work for me gameplay wise. Like I don't like Dark Souls style games and the way they play, and this is in that as well. I also I've said it a million times on the channel, I struggle with open world games, and this game has a very similar feeling to that. I really need games to just go here, go here, go here, go here, go here, because I'm trying to play the game, go through it, play the next game. Open world, I get too distracted and I don't finish them. So I'm gonna have to give it a C plus. So.
All that build up, and C plus is fine. That's what I was gonna give it.
I'm the bitch grader today.
Yeah, Chris hated the game.
Well, I think it's a good game. I just not for me.
It is.
It's the worst game Chris ever played.
I mean, that was well put. I mean, like, not every game is for everyone. I could totally understand people just bounce off it, giving it like a D. Like, it's not. This game is not going to be for everyone.
Yeah.
We just don't know who it's for.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
For
That's the
someone.
mystery.
I'm not sure who,
It's for Paul.
but someone.
Somebody really likes it. Paul really likes it,
Yeah.
They made it for Paul. They're like, Paul's gonna love this.
and all the other Pauls out there.
Yeah.
They need to have a warning right in the beginning. Warning: this is for Paul. If you're not Paul, try it out. We don't know if you'll like it. If you are Paul, though, you're gonna love this.
I
I
bet
will
you.
say though, I don't think this game could be an A plus. Like, I don't think there's any way they could make this game, like, to me, like a perfect game.
I agree with
Or
that
whatever.
100%.
Like, if I was better at it, that wouldn't matter. Like, and I don't think I would like the game more. I could just appreciate it better if those couple things were fixed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well,
There's a lot of games I mean, virtually almost every single game I couldn't give an A plus to. There's only a few games I really feel like that would be necessary, but that would have to be a more personal, impactful experience coupled by gameplay that I thought was I didn't really have issues with in any way. I enjoyed it that much. So yeah, a game like this, any game that that is more of just like a fun game to play, it'd be really hard to give it an A plus. It'd have to have something extra to really like, holy shit, I cried when I played this game. Like, it was really just stellar. So yeah, a game like this, I mean, even that you give an A minus is a huge, it's a high grade. So I mean, it at least accomplished that. So, but I do agree. I don't know how they could make this game up there with, like, you know, any of the legendary games that exist.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I just want to clarify that because I think they really knocked it out of the park, but fix those couple things, and maybe they could get like maybe this game was successful, maybe the PlayStation Plus helps them out, maybe they can do an Absolver 2 or a spiritual successor of some sort that has that extra polish and a little bit more lore. Maybe would do it for me.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. Yeah, like I said, even in the beginning of this, I really want this game to have done well enough to allow these guys to make Absolver 2 or support the game for a long time, or make something after this that they can take what they learned from this and make something better. Because
Battle Royale game.
Oh
yeah.
God.
There's a couple Battle Royale games I'm pretty excited for coming out soon, but I like those games. But
Cheap joke.
we don't need any. Although Fear the Wolves looks really cool. I really want to play that. Yeah, I think it's gonna do it. We got it all knocked out.
In just about 2 hours.
2 hours. Well, one thing I really appreciate about Paul is, like us, he thinks objectively and can have like a full conversation. It's not just like, yeah, it sucked, or yeah, it was good, I liked it. So it was a pleasure having you on the show, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had a blast.
Yeah, and hopefully we can have you on again. This actually worked out really well with doing it over webcam. So if you want to let people know about your podcast, though, I'd love for you to share that with our fan base.
Yeah, I have a podcast and website I put together, brokendialradio.com. I'm also on iTunes and Stitcher. I have Spotify playlists up. The podcast is on Spotify yet. I'm going to try, but it may get rejected because the idea of the podcast is mostly new music recommendations, but also music discussion and reviews. But pretty much like we were doing it on a monthly basis. We're on a little bit of a hiatus, but it's going to start up again soon, where we review or we listen to new albums and take the ones we like, talk about them, put up 30-second clips of them, and people can check out some stuff. It's all different kinds of genres, so there's hopefully something for everybody, and only a very small bit of really bad music, because that's fun sometimes too.
I would say, do you ever listen to something that's outside your wheelhouse?
Oh yeah, all the time. I
Yeah.
try to all the time.
That's good, because I'm the same way. I'm a big music guy, so I like to listen to stuff I, might not assume I'd like, but
I listened to a couple episodes, and the genre definitely, like, it's all over the place. So,
that's
like,
good.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I have a very eclectic taste in music, and my co-host Nate has more of a electronic focus, but that's good because he finds some of the stuff that I would never have heard of. But yeah, we'll do everything from metal to pop to old electronic and hip hop and country, and there's a bunch of different shit in there. So check out maybe just the Spotify playlist if you just want to hear the music, but check out the podcast if you want to hear us talk about it, and it's fun.
It'll be in the description below. So
yeah, so
Broken Dial Radio.
Go down there and click that. Obviously, he had a lot to say to join the conversation, so you might want to listen to him talk about music. And yeah, we highly recommend it. But that's going to do it for this episode of Plus Club for July. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this episode. Check out our other episodes. Check us out on Tumblr and Twitter and Facebook at Tasty Loot Gaming. Check out the streams on Twitch at Tasty Senpai, all one word. And for Chris, Tasty_fruit. Do you have a Twitch you want to throw out there, Paul?
Nope.
No? All right. Hit the notification button to know when we go live. And yeah, we have a Discord. Make sure to join that. Link down below. We are also on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast platforms. You prefer to listen to us, and if you're listening to us, check us out on YouTube at Tasty Loot Gaming. And yeah, my name's Seth.
I'm Chevy.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Paul.
Until the next episode, have a great weekend, guys, and take it easy.